first. So Sky is Europe's leading entertainment company. For anyone that's had a close eye on the news recently, you will have seen there's been somewhat of a bidding war to buy us, so we've been quite popular, and that's all very exciting. We also have exclusive partnerships and co-produce shows with organisations like HBO and Showtime, so things like Game of Thrones, we would get first refusal, and then we co-produce things with Amazon to share production costs too. And all of that's delivered through market-leading innovation and products with best-in-class customer service. So, on to today's topic. We're going to start with Lou Johnson, and Lou's going to talk to us about our strategy and how we got started in the very beginning. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. So hello everyone, it's a treat to be with you all today. And it's an exciting partnership for us to be sponsoring National Inclusion Week, because it was a year ago this week that we launched our Skywide Vision for Inclusion. As a broadcaster, of course it's really important what we do on screen, as it is to think about how we represent everybody and ensure that we're diverse and inclusive behind the scenes too. And so it was a year ago that we launched this vision, which you can see in front of us. It's critical for us that we reflect the lives and loves of all of our customers and potential customers. And we're very well aware that in order to do that well, and in order that we can anticipate the needs of our customers and continue to innovate in their best interests, then of course we must make sure that we reflect the communities that we serve behind the scenes too. So perhaps it's no surprise then that this vision that we came up with a year ago was to be admired as an industry leader in the UK and Ireland for inclusion, both on screen and behind the scenes. And this has been a vehicle that we've been using in the year since to really galvanise our communications and galvanise all of our action around making Sky a more diverse and inclusive organisation. What I would hasten to say though is that we had a really great starting point. There was already loads of inclusion-focused work happening right across our business, and much of it had been happening for years. And I think this is a testament to the fact that inclusion is something that's deeply important and really strongly aligned to the values of many people already. And so getting started for us was really about finding those people and giving them the space to live their values while inspiring others to do the same. And so what you can see on the screen here is a representation of some of the things that we had going on already. For example, our Parents at Sky network, which was our first network to form, and it was launched in 2013, although its inception was actually in 2012. We've had loads of work going on for several years around increasing the number of women we have in leadership roles at Sky, and also across some of our technology teams. And our Women at Sky network was launched on International Women's Day in March last year. And we've been founding projects, for example, of Project Diamond, which is the Cultural Diversity Network's efforts to increase diversity and representation on screen. We were founding partners for that work, and we set our own diversity targets back in 2016. So what changed a year ago is that we joined it all up, and in so doing, we clarified and strengthened our commitment. So to give you an example of some of the things that we did during National Inclusion Week last year, is that we established an executive steering group for inclusion, and that's chaired by our UK and Ireland CEO, Stephen Van Rooyen, and is made up of members of the UK as well as the Sky Group's executive committee. And we meet bi-monthly to discuss our plans and how we can go faster on this important agenda for us. We also appointed a Director for Inclusion, which was me, as it happens, a year ago. And so I was really delighted, just after National Inclusion Week actually, to be appointed to this really important role to help give our plans and strategy a little bit more structure and a little bit more pace. And then we clarified our plan, we strengthened our commitment, and we started communicating about it in a much more consistent way, not only to our employees internally to the organisation, but also outside of Sky too. So the first thing I had to do when I sort of took up the role as Director for Inclusion was pull all of that fantastic activity together and to make sure it sort of came together into a comprehensive strategy. And then we used that plan as well as our vision to clarify our commitment, to be really clear about what our ambition is, and to drive action across all of our business. And to ensure our efforts were focused enough to make an impact was another really important part of my role. It's really tempting, I think, to try and boil the ocean with any effort around diversity and inclusion. And of course that makes sense because everything's important. So it's really tempting, I think, to go after everything at once. But at Sky, it's a really clear kind of operating trait that we prioritise in order to focus our efforts and deliver results, and then use that as a platform for broadening out. So the areas that we chose to focus on a year ago were these three that you can see in front of you now. Firstly around culture, and then second and third around improving representation of women and representation of people from Black, Asian or minority ethnic backgrounds. Now to me, the most important part is the culture piece. Our aim is to build a culture at Sky where everyone can be themselves and give their best. And the reason that this is the most important part to me is because it speaks to absolutely everyone at Sky. It speaks to all of the different strands, as well as to all elements of diversity and inclusion that may not typically be represented by a strand. And it also speaks to the scale of our ambition. We were really mindful that a strand-specific diversity and inclusion efforts can start to feel a little bit exclusive for some people, and we were really keen to avoid that, which is why this culture piece is the kind of foundation element of our strategy. But our employee data also told us that we have two really strong opportunities to improve representation too, and that's to increase the representation of women and to increase representation of Black, Asian and minority ethnic colleagues as well. And so we've deliberately decided to focus our representation efforts on those two strands. Now, it's important to me to make clear that that's not because we think these are the most important strands or that they're any more important than any other element, but it's because we can much more cleanly and confidently measure the impact of our efforts on these two strands, because our declaration data, the information we hold about our employees, is really strong for these two categories. And so while across other strands, for example, we have bigger gaps in our employee data, with some up to 30% of people, for example, having not chosen to declare their sexual orientation or their faith or whether or not they have a disability. And because it's really important to us that we can measure the impact of our efforts and make sure that we're doing things that really make a difference, we wanted to focus our efforts where we had the best data. So that's why we focused our representation on women and BAME colleagues. And of course, in the meantime, we're also doing a lot of work to try and drive up declaration rates across all other parts of the diversity spectrum so that we can increase our confidence in the future of ensuring Sky is equally inclusive for everybody. And so that's what we've been up to in a year since National Inclusion Week last year. It's been an absolute blast. And while there's still loads for us to get on with, I'm really excited and really proud of the progress that we've made in last year.
Thanks very much, Lou. I think it's great to start with a helicopter view of what's happening right across Sky. There's absolutely tons of things happening, and as Lou said, there's people everywhere that are making a difference, doing things, in all areas of business right across the country. So I'm delighted we've got a real mixed audience as well to now bring that to life. And we're going to start with Kush. Kush is one of our Sky Forum reps, so she not only is here talking about her own story, but representing her colleagues as well. So over to you, Kush.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. So guys, my name is Kush. I am from Glasgow in the Retentions Call Centre, and basically I'm here to just talk about the forum and how I got involved in shaping inclusion at Sky. So first of all, I got involved in the forum through being elected in my local area in Glasgow. I was one of the 3 reps that was elected because we represent 800 people, so it's a very big site. So we work with the leaders of Glasgow to shape how people work and to make things a lot easier for folk. So first of all, talking about actually how we got involved, how I got involved as a forum rep to shape inclusion was at the forum meeting in London in Australia, where all the reps across Sky, so every single part of the business was represented, and we talked about what we thought was inclusion and what it meant to us. So for myself, it was to be heard and to be recognised. So that's quite a big thing. So through the forum, obviously, we are recognising what people's views are and bringing that to life. So one big example of that is in Glasgow, we have actually reshaped and had a makeover in Glasgow. So we've got a brand new canteen, which we're very proud of. It's absolutely gorgeous. Everyone's very, very happy with it. And other things that we've done as well as reshaping Glasgow is we brought in halal food, and we've got prayer rooms where everyone can feel represented. So obviously Lou had mentioned about having that culture there and everyone wanting to feel accepted in the workplace, so no one having to worry that I don't know where a prayer room is. So all these things are kind of shared through the newsletter. So in Glasgow it's been very exciting, and I think through the forum I'm very, very fortunate that I have got to be involved in inclusion, and because I do think it's very important in such a big business that we can feel very small. I think through the forum I have managed to kind of reach out what I think it means to me, and kind of through the forum work I can do, I can really make other people feel that their opinions are being heard, and I think that's that kind of value, and I think we've all also rebranded our values, so again that's another very important part, to feel accepted, to feel a part of something, I think, and that's across life in every part, so it's really fantastic, so thanks for the opportunity.
No worries, thank you, Kish. And I remember that forum meeting, so I think it was a good 4 or 5 months before we launched the vision to employees, and we tested it out with the forum, said, what do you think? Do these words make sense? You know, what does inclusion mean to you? And the thing that sticks in my mind from that meeting was people weren't necessarily talking about gender or ethnicity or any of those other groups that we talk about when we think about diversity and inclusion. It was just as much about, I work in a call centre, I'm an engineer, I work in HR, etc., etc. Actually, wherever I work in Sky, I want to feel part of something and be included. So that was quite instrumental in the way that we launched our vision during National Inclusion Week last year. We weren't too prescriptive with what diversity and inclusion means at Sky, because actually what the forum reps did really, really nicely was kind of surprise us all actually in the moment, in terms of it's really personal and it means something really different to different people. So it's just, you know, the forum's incredibly powerful, and it's great that that kind of continues to carry on and represent employees to the leaders. So thank you, Kish. So now we're going to head over to Adam. Adam's one of our home service engineers and also a forum rep actually, but that's not necessarily what you're going to talk about today, is it? So Adam, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Catherine. My name's Adam, and I work in the field in Edinburgh at the moment. I'm a field team manager, so I'm kind of the face of Sky when we go into the customers' homes. So everybody sees Sky on the adverts on the TV, the programmes that we watch, but don't only ever really see somebody until they come to the home to fit the Sky boxes in the customers' houses. So I was lucky enough to recently become a team manager and also be able to manage 17 engineers in my team. And as you can imagine, it's over quite a widespread area, and obviously we have, within that area that I work, we have quite a multicultural kind of area to work in. So one of the things that we have been able to do, and this also came from one of my other forum reps who works down here in London, was Ramadan. We didn't really do anything for the field-based, and obviously working long hours, not being able to take on food and water and stuff like that, it's quite a kind of hard task to do, especially with this time of year, with it being in the summer months. So one of our forum reps, Imran, he went to our Director of Home Service, Carla, and pitched the idea of saying there's nothing actually in place for that. This actually happened a week before it was due to start, so it was kind of needed a quick turnover and a quick fast-paced kind of turnaround. So we pitched out to everybody in the field, all the team managers, say who is going to be practicing Ramadan during that period. Do we need to put anything in place? We got in touch with our planning team to say, look, we're going to change diary time, get people off, and etc., and do that. And then within a couple of days, it was approved, it was passed, and then it was rolled out to the field, and we were able to kind of incorporate that. And now that's going to be an ongoing thing throughout the next couple of years. We also introduced family time, and that came about again by our Director of Home Service, Carla. She was doing the school run and happened to have a couple of engineers who have children that go to the same school, and just happened to be chatting about different things, going to school plays, just maybe going to pick the kids up from school, that sort of thing. And so we thought that there's nothing really in place. It was kind of like, I need to kind of get somebody to cover work, and obviously if you're working in a vast area, you might not necessarily be local. So what we've done is introduce 2 hours per quarter to be able to have family time. So family time to go and do school plays, pick up the kids, or even if it's just a case of you want to pop round to mum's house for a cup of tea type of thing, or even if you just want to finish early to watch the TV or something like that. It is family time, so it's designed to have the moment of the family. We also had a chatter post by Stephen Briggs, who is one of our field engineers in the north. He pitched the idea to Carla via Chatter. Now Chatter is a weird kind of combination of Facebook come WhatsApp, where we post and you get to be able to put a message on and people can see it from all different parts of the business. So he put the post on saying to Carla, can I have Saturday afternoon off to watch the football when England was successful and we're going through to the next round of the World Cup that was happening in the summer. And 187 comments later, Carla pitched it to our Chief Operating Officer, Chris Deliano, and over 2,000 people have viewed that post. So I was lucky enough to be in a forum meeting up in Edinburgh where she was on the phone to Chris to say, how is it going to go ahead? Can it go ahead? So she got us as the forum reps to say, put a message out. Can you know if it's going to go ahead? Everybody needs to get on to Caller, get onto Chatter, and we use the hashtag Callers Bringing It Home. So showcase that on Chatter. Everybody got ahead, and then she got the go ahead. So we then en masse, and everybody just went after it. Chatter lit up everybody's questions. Thank you, Caller. Thank you. You know, and from this one, just a simple request of somebody just, you know, and it kind of that's kind of the environment we're working in. It's like what's right for kind of our people. We've also had an exciting project that's recently launched this year, and it's the Women in Home Service. So one of the things that came about from a recent engineer conferences that we have, so we get each region together and we'll all sit in the room, we'll have the different heads of fields come to showcase what we're going to be doing, where we've been. And one of the things we did was, what noticed was there's only 2% of our workforce in home service is female. So Carla decided to come up with what can we do to change the perception that, or the unconscious bias that the role is for a man. It's not. It's simply not. It's for anybody who wants to be an engineer. So one of the things we did was a Women Home Service project, which introduces. It's a 6-month-long program, which introduces people from either internally, where they can come across and work in home service, or externally, and come and do a 6-month program where they get to learn the role as an engineer. And at the end of it, they get accreditation, and they'll be able to showcase and get all the skills and all the learning that you would do as a normal home service engineer. So we had the first intake in March, which we had over 100 people. We had a second intake in June, which was over 120 people. And we're just going to start in October 77 trainees into the program. And as of September, just gone now, we have successfully had 66 people transition from trainees to be full-time engineers in the field. So we're looking to get to 2020 a 20% gender balance within the women in home service world. So we're hopeful, fingers crossed, we're kind of start to get on track with that. So one of the things that's been good and able to do is utilise the Chatter, which Chatter is kind of using like kind of the network that I've had through the forum, so meeting the likes of Catherine and Kush, yourself, Stefan and stuff like that. We've been able to kind of showcase what we've been doing in the field and also widen the popularity of home service. So every time we've been out in the field or gone to what we had with the Women in Home Service, we're just posting a message on Chatter and then being able to share it through there, being able to reach out to my fellow forum reps at meetings and stuff like that. And then through the Sky, like I say, through using the Sky forum, I've been able to use that platform to showcase, you know, home service as kind of the place to be, the department that everybody wants to be part of. So that's kind of where we've kind of got to with stuff in home service, and it's ever not only are we in the customers' homes, but also showcasing actually in some of the feedback that we get from now, I'll be able to see the difference between instead of here's the Sky man knocking on the door, especially with the Women in Home Service, it's actually how nice it is to. Oh, I'm really nice to see a female climbing up the ladders. And actually one of our trainees had seen 2 people walking past with their children from school going, I want to do that because they've seen a female up the ladders, and she just had a big beaming smile and thought, actually I've made the right choice. So yes, so I've been very proud to be part of all these amazing things that's here in Sky.
I think we can hear that in your voice. Thank you, Adam. I think, you know, home service is definitely one of the teams in Sky that slightly blows my mind, actually. You know, it's a big volume team, out on the road all day, in vans quite often on their own, and to have managed to have built flexibility into the rotas so that people can celebrate things like Ramadan and do family time and stuff like that is just amazing. And I think, you know, the perception for me is that a team that are out on the road like that all the time wouldn't be that well connected, but actually just hearing you talk today, that's just not true. Yeah. You know, you guys are always in touch through Chatter, like you say, and the other things that are there, and of course the Sky Forum. So I think for me, you know, home service is a team that many teams in Sky can really learn from, because if you can do it in home service, you should be able to do it anywhere, right? So thank you very much, Adam, much appreciated. So just thinking about kind of unconscious bias and attracting a more diverse workforce, we're going to head over to Claire now. Over to you, Claire.
Thanks, Catherine. So I'm Claire, and I'm one of the recruitment managers here at Sky, and I'm going to be talking about inclusion in recruitment. So first of all, we've empowered our recruiters and hiring managers. We've made sure that they understand the importance of inclusion and that they understand the business benefit, and that we're not just trying to hit a target. This message has been filtered down through the whole organisation, everyone is on the same page and speaking the same language. We've recognised that recruiters have frequent interactions with managers, and therefore they have the ability to reinforce this message. So we've trained the recruiters so that they feel empowered to have open conversations around inclusion at every role briefing. At role briefings, recruiters ask managers to review and rethink the job spec to really make sure that they're recruiting for skills and aptitude rather than experience. They openly discuss and encourage flexible working, and they ask for more time where they need it. They feel empowered to manage the hiring manager's expectations about the time it will take to balance out a shortlist for certain skill sets. We've looked at all of our day-to-day processes. We've done a review of the recruitment process so that we can find opportunities to make changes. By doing this, we found that our biggest challenge is attraction. So we looked at our job descriptions and adverts to ensure that they are attractive to all groups. To do this, we initially used a tool called Textio to gain a greater understanding. We researched and utilised channels to tap into broader pools, and we now advertise on Vercida, which is the world's leading diversity and inclusion employer brand platform. And alongside this, we also advertise on some specific job boards such as womenintech.co.uk and The Voice Online. We've also done some gender-specific talent pooling for technology roles on LinkedIn, and we send targeted engagement to these populations. We've sponsored and attended events such as the Women of Silicon Roundabout event and the Young Black Professionals Diversity Recruitment Fair in London. We've done many social media campaigns to make sure that we're showcasing Sky as an inclusive employer. There's been little evidence from the review that we did that BAME or female candidates were dropping out later on in the process, for example at manager review to interview or from interview to offer. However, we know that we can all have bias, especially when we're under pressure. For example, if there's a vacancy in the team, we tend to rely on what we did last time to fill the role as quickly as possible. But rather than sheet everyone through unconscious bias training, we remind managers at the point of need and try to remove opportunities for bias to enter the process. So we ask managers to make selection decisions on their own and encourage them to have diverse interview panels. We ask them to use objective scoring criteria, which they agree in advance, and to score candidates independently and then come together to compare with other assessors. We're making sure that everybody knows that diversifying the team is everyone's responsibility. So the business take ownership of diversity and inclusion themselves, and they're supported by recruitment and HR. And you can see here some pictures from International Women's Day, which highlights the level of engagements in the teams and shows everybody getting involved.
I think it's so important, Claire. You know, you mentioned the recruitment team are empowered and having those good conversations with line managers, because I think it's so easy to do what you did last time, get the job description back out, and you end up going and hiring somebody that's really similar to the person before. So I think one of the things we're talking more about kind of in our own local team is cultural contribution rather than cultural fit. So, you know, if you've already got a really cool team that's really got huge strengths in one area, what else could you bring that would be different? Like, don't go and hire another person that's going to bring the same skill set. What else could you do? And obviously that means potentially advertising in different places too. So thank you for bringing that to life for us. Now we are going to head over to Laura. So Laura works in our HR operations team, and Laura's also going to talk about disrupting bias through all our people, policies, processes and systems. Over to you, Laura.
Thanks, Catherine. So yes, as Catherine said, I work in our People Plus team, which is Sky's sort of HR help desk, where we provide advice and guidance to all our employees. And within this role, I get a really good feel for the types of questions and issues that are on our people's minds, which has then allowed us to apply an inclusion lens to many of our existing policies, processes and systems. So looking at policies, first of all, we've made a number of policy changes over the last year that really reflect our commitment to inclusion and also demonstrate how everyone works together to drive the change in the business. So several people from an HR working group got together to devise a diversity inclusion policy and also an anti-harassment and bullying policy. So we previously had guidelines on both, and we also referenced them in our main grievance policy. However, we felt it was really important to publish specific policies on these areas for two main reasons. It makes it much clearer and easier for an employee to find the information when they need it, and it always makes a clear statement that we see this as really important and will take it seriously. In addition to that, we've also launched a transgender policy in the last year, which supplements the guidance that we had in place for supporting our transgender colleagues through that transition. We've made some changes to our family and special leave policy. These were kicked off by a forum member who had raised that as a foster carer, he regularly needed to attend meetings that he would need to take time off for, maybe his annual leave or his unpaid leave. And within a few weeks of having a really open discussion with him, we then added foster carer leave to our policy to benefit lots of people in that same role. Sticking with that policy, we also had a look at our offering for secondary carer leave. So we've always had a more generous offering for maternity leave. However, when we looked at our paternity offering and working with our parents at Sky Network, we wanted to look at how could we encourage the uptake of shared parental leave, and we realised that we could really make a difference by looking at that secondary carer or paternity leave offering. So at that time, we offered little more than the legal requirement, and this felt like an area that was lagging behind compared to other aspects of the policy. And we're delighted that this week we're launching enhanced secondary carer leave, which will give dads and other secondary carers up to 12 weeks off, which will be 6 weeks paid during that first year of parenthood. And one more sort of big policy change that we've made that I'd like to call out is with our flexible working policy. So we've always had a flexible working policy in place, but its main focus has been on just making sure we do what we need to do legally. But as a business, we recognise that we are really diverse, as we've heard already. So we have people who are scheduled call centre workers, we have our field-based engineers, and we have our traditional 9-to-5 corporate functions, and then we have our content areas. What we wanted to do was to enhance our policy so that it was fit for all, but then recognise the needs of the different business areas. So therefore we've updated it, and again launching this week to give greater guidance to allow managers and employees to have real good quality conversations around the flexibility and how they can be really clear and transparent with people about what level of flexibility can be achieved. So moving on to process. We gather quality inclusion data on our people, and that helps us look at many of our current processes through an inclusion lens. For example, when reviewing our people survey data, which is our employee engagement survey, we can get fantastic insight about how our culture feels for everyone, and the quality and richness of our insight into our people metrics helps us guide decisions about how our processes or our initiatives will impact different groups. And last but not least, systems. We've updated a number of our HR systems in order to make sure that everyone is able to reflect their own identity when completing either a job application or if it's updating the personal information that we hold for them. And the changes have included adding the prefix MX and expanding the options for employees to select their gender identity. And these are changes that employees can make easily and independently through our self-service function on our systems. So that's a summary of what we've done so far, and we're still continuing to look at all these things, listening to our people to ensure that everything that we do from that policy process system perspective is looked at from an inclusion lens.
Thanks, Laura. I think we've had a little bit of feedback that not everyone could hear you, so I'll just recap really quickly to make sure that people could hear what you just said. So essentially, Laura was saying that we've reviewed policies based on employee feedback, so not only just based on what people are telling us that they need, but also what we're trying to achieve in our overall kind of inclusion ambition. And then we use the employee data that we do have to make sure that when we're reviewing things like our people survey or performance ratings or whatever they may be, we're looking at the range, not just the total. So we might look at men compared to women or straight compared to lesbian, gay, bisexual example. And then the final point there was just in our systems, and again, we get lots of feedback from our employees about what the options should be, that people can go in and talk about their own identity. So you can see the examples we've got up on the screen here, actually, the gaps that Lou alluded to at the very beginning of the webinar. That's a big ambition for us. You know, we've got to fill some of the gaps in our data, but the data that we do have is absolutely used to drive forward those decisions. So thank you very much. And then last up for our guest speakers today is Stefan. And Stefan is going to talk to us about our employee networks here at Sky.
Yes, thank you very much, Catherine, and thank you also for inviting me to be part of this beautiful webinar for National Inclusion Week, which I think has really shown all the amazing things that we do across Sky. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our employee networks, which again are a great initiative that we have at Sky. We've actually now got 5 employee networks as part of our organisation, which you can see up on the screen. So these are Parents at Sky, LGBT+ at Sky, the Women at Sky Network, Multicultural at Sky, and Body and Mind at Sky. And I think the really important thing to note about these networks is that they're entirely employee-run, employee-led, and were set up by employees. This is not something that the organisation has sort of forced upon anyone. This is people who have wanted to make a difference across inclusion and diversity at their workplace because they felt that that was important to them and that could have an impact across the business and across the colleagues. And I think that's one of the wonderful things. There's no kind of set business agenda or business strategy behind the networks. Everyone sets their own strategy in terms of what they want to achieve and how they want to really nurture and foster and promote diversity and inclusion across the organisation. And I think the interesting thing about the next step of these employee networks is how we kind of work together. So something that's really important for LGBT at Sky, sort of how do we work together with parents at Sky, you know, if they are coming, you know, sort of to terms with having an LGBT child or something like that, how can we better cross-promote the different interests of the different employee networks and help support each other, or how, you know, how can LGBT at Sky work together with Multicultural at Sky, with people sort of having, you know, sort of intersectionality between their culture and background and ethnicity and their faith with you know, potentially a gender identity or sexual identity. So for LGBT at Sky, I think it's really important to us. And I've been part of the network since I joined Sky about 2 years ago. And it's really important to us to really champion inclusion across our colleagues and our customers. And we do this in various different ways. So we run and promote allies workshops. So for LGBT+ allies across the organisation, and we've actually grown the network from around 600 people to 1,500 people over the last year, and a huge proportion of that is actually allies. So that's another important thing to note, that actually these networks are open for everyone to attend and to join. So you do not necessarily have to be LGBT+ to join the LGBT+ network. You do not have to be a woman to join the Women at Sky network. They are really open to everyone because they are just such an inclusive and open space for people to have discussion, to have support, to have conversation, and to really dig deeper into these sort of inclusion and diversity initiatives of the organisation. Other things that we've done at LGBT at Sky is really try and have a kind of outward-facing mission as well. So for this year, we attended actually 10 different Pride events across the United Kingdom and Ireland, and I think that's something that's really important, because again, that's something where our employees feel that they are really proud to actually march visibly and publicly as part of their business and their organisation and their workplace, promoting, you know, the network and their sexual identity, their gender identity, and I think that just goes to the testament and shows how utterly comfortable they must feel at work to be part of an initiative such as Pride and proudly march with Pride. And you know, that's something that we're very proud of as well in the network, that we enable and nurture our members in the network to sort of be visibly and active across not just the organisation but sort of in the wider world as well. And I think, you know, sort of the experiences that we've heard from today through the Home Service Network, through the Chatter Network, through the forum, all just show how open and inclusive Sky is to really helping and giving employees that platform to really drive that inclusion and diversity program forward, which is so important. And then another thing that we do is the Team Pride and Rainbow Laces initiative, which again I think is really important. So this really is another example of how we're making a wider impact beyond our network and our organisation. So, for example, the Team Pride is a body of different organisations who work together to promote LGBT plus visibility in sports. And Sky Sports is massively involved in that, and that's how we can really take that inclusion, that utter importance of that inclusion and diversity message, which we do across our organisation, and give that a wider facing public audience. And I think that's really important. We've won several awards from that. We've also been part of the Stonewall Top 100 Employer Network. We've become 29th placement on the Stonewall Workplace Equality Index with LGBT plus at Sky. And you know, I think the one message that I'd really like people to take out is that this is so much led and driven by our people and by our employees and by our networks. And it's wonderful to have the business support sort of at a director level, sort of top down to bring that, but it's so important to have people engaging and making a difference sort of from the ground up. And I think the two working together really deliver the biggest impact for our organisation and for Sky.
Thank you, Stefan. I'd absolutely agree. I think having these self-managed networks that are run by volunteers are so critical to Sky's success actually so far on diversity and inclusion, because when, you know, something else is coming up externally or something's bubbling away or it's come through the Sky Forum, for example, we've got these populations of people we can go to and go, something's come up, we're not quite sure, what do you think? You know, you've got a relationship with Stonewall, for example, like, is there any kind of best practice advice there? So we've got these kind of ready-made, incredibly passionate and knowledgeable people who want to help, so it just makes us all the more powerful and just speeds up our progress. So thank you very much for that, Stefan. I believe now, Arfan, we're over to Q&A.
Yeah, so it's 1:10, so we still have a few minutes left for questions, which is good. Still see the bulk of participants and attendees are still there, so thanks for saying tune 40 minutes later and saying tunes into the Q&A. So it's been really interesting hearing all of your points and such a diversity of experiences in the organisation. We've talked a lot about the opportunities. I think one thing perhaps our attendees and some of the questions we've been getting is about some of the challenges you may have faced in the organisation. So what's been the biggest challenge in terms of getting started on inclusion and diversity?
I'll go. So I think it's Lou Johnson speaking. I think one of the challenges that I felt when we were getting started, and I'll sort of loosely refer to that as being a year ago, kind of harks back to the point I made about how you prioritise. Because for us, it's really important that this our kind of efforts around inclusion are really kind of empowered, that every employee is empowered to make a difference. And we don't want to be too sort of controlling or directive from the centre of the organisation about what that should look like at Sky. And so finding the balance between allowing employees to kind of follow their passions and to create work in a way that's really meaningful for them, but reconciling that in a way that means we've got a coherent strategy that we can describe and communicate really easily has been one of the challenges, I think. And certainly that feels less like a challenge now than it did a year ago. And for me, this is where inclusion, you know, and the importance of having inclusion as the sort of foundation for our strategy is the kind of solution, because inclusion creates space for everybody to kind of, you know, manifest the strategy in a way that's meaningful for them, whether that's for different individuals or different parts of our organisation, which are so different. Making that the pillar creates space for that, while still allowing a bit of structure that we can communicate and use, you know, to sort of communicate and track progress. So kind of balancing our really strong desire for it being really employee-led and driven by empowerment, but also not doing that to such an extent that we lose coherence and therefore a really easy platform to communicate from or to measure progress against. But for me, I think inclusion provides the solution to that challenge.
Great, thank you very much for that response, Lou. And I think we've also had some questions in relation to how some of the other people are reacting to your strategy, particularly for you, Adam, and in relation to how the men are reacting to women joining the home service team. Perhaps it'd be useful to have an insight in terms of what the response and the kind of feedback or the reactions have been down on the ground.
Yeah, for the most part, it's been quite positive. More so, you see the kind of so we get verbatim comments come through from our customers, saying how nice it was to actually have obviously a female with kind of predominantly a male engineer in the customer's home, and how certain people have found it kind of more confident having a female engineer in the customer's home, especially if it's just like the older lady or say for example a young mum with kids type of thing. It might be a bit more less intimidating, if that's the kind of right phrase. But yeah, so some of our colleagues have like kind of embraced it, and a lot of them have stepped up as role models now. So not only are they having the training, but you also now being able to do a little bit of self-development as well. So we've got a lot more opportunity to be able to progress and also kind of develop our own skills with that as well. So for the large part of especially for the areas populated next to contact centres, especially the likes of Livingston, Glasgow, Newcastle, down here in Osterley and stuff like that, we'll have a lot of internal applicants that have come across, and obviously they know about home services that have come through, and obviously most part is most of the trainees are just saying, well, I want the keys from my van now, can I go out and do it by myself? Which is brilliant to see. There's enthusiasm. It's like, yeah, that's me now, that's my path, that's where I'm going to go. And it's nice to see, especially with the role models, they actually can get to see the trainee now progress to be a full-time engineer, and they all kind of say, actually, I've helped shape that person's new direction, new path, and career with Sky.
Great, thank you so much for that, Adam. Claire, one for you. Do managers welcome the conversation during recruitment?
So largely, yes, they do, and they understand the importance of it. But of course, there are occasions where managers just want to get someone in quickly. And that's, I think, where it's really important that recruiters know that they've got the support of the recruitment manager, of HR, of the leadership team, and they know that they can have these open conversations around it and really push back on the managers. So I think in the main, yes, they are welcomed, but yeah, they can be faced with some challenges from hiring managers.
Great, thank you very much for that, Claire. Kush, one for you here. How do you become a Sky Forum rep?
So now each area has there's a way that we actually get voted in. So you first have to put yourself forward to the forum and argue your case of why you should be a forum rep and why you're the correct person to actually represent your area of the business. So what I personally did was, it was like 500 words. I wrote up about why I should be a forum rep. I sent it away, and then there was a list of people who had put themselves forward to be elected. And then there was like a whole campaign. It was kind of like being a head girl at high school, which I never managed to get, so the forum's way cooler anyway. So the forum so just told people about it actually, because in Glasgow it's so big because it's a call centre, so it was very hard to actually individually chat to people. So we tried to do a bit of like team meetings or tell the managers about it so they could tell their teams, so that people are educated about it and actually so they know what it is. So I'm sure Stefan can agree with networks even, it's quite hard to reach out to everyone because not everyone will open the email and read a newsletter. So even when people were sending emails about vote me, people were a bit like, I don't even know why I'm voting, or I'm not going to vote. So it was a bit about the education piece was quite important there. But so it was mainly just putting yourself forward, putting yourself out there, and getting yourself voted, and really putting across that you will do, you say, don't just say it, do it. And then I guess people will warm up to you. But yeah, that's how I became a rep, and I love it. Wouldn't change it. Best part of my job.
Maybe the best part of your life, right?
I know, I just love it. It's great.
Thanks very much for that, Kush. And lots more information on employee networks. Wednesday, lunchtime webinar, 12:30. Again, we'll go into that in a lot more detail and talk a little bit perhaps about some of the questions that are coming through, such as how do you ensure networks celebrate difference rather than help emphasise it, for example. But we can go into that in a little bit more detail on Wednesday. So for our last few minutes of the webinar, I suppose day one of National Inclusion Week, I'd quite like to end on something a bit feel good factory, and perhaps a few of you here would like to tell attendees on today's webinar what has been your proudest moment, or what each of you are most proud of.
Oh my goodness, that's a huge question, Arthur, and we're all pausing and racking our brains here. I'll start. So it's Catherine. So I think with the partnership, Inclusive Employers asked us way back at the start of this year and just said, we've been running National Inclusion Week for a number of years, we're looking for a partner, what do you think? And we went, well, that sounds like a good idea. It's a year since we launched our vision. So actually, we'd be really happy to share our progress outside Sky. We're not done yet. There's still plenty to do, still learning and still going along. So we said yes. That was back in May, I think. And then walking into the office this morning, and we've seen kind of all of our teams at Sky have really got behind National Inclusion Week. It's just been incredible, and it's testament, actually, I think, to what everybody's talked about on this call today. So we have had teams in our Sky Creative Agency, teams in Sky Sports, teams in Sky News, teams in Sky Music, all of our engineers, all of our retail. We've had people doing a VT on camera. I'm trying to think, I'm going to forget somebody now. This is the awful thing, isn't it? But my point is, hundreds of people literally have gone, yeah, we can get behind this, we can do something, here's how we can connect with customers, or here's what we can do with employees, and just seeing that it is absolutely kind of something that people feel really passionate about and can join in on part of the cause with a kind of central kind of overall goal, but something that people can bring to life in their own way, I think is cool. That's probably mine.
Well, I'm next. Well, for me personally, actually, through the forum, I'm very fortunate I got to be part of shaping the purpose and value of Sky, and I guess that does kind of represent, part of inclusion as well. So I was asked to be part of a VT to showcase what values and purpose, what my values and purpose was as a Sky employee and as a person. So I was part of a VT, and we're actually fortunate enough to go to one of Stephen Van Rooyen's CEO, one of his leadership meetings with all his heads of, and we showed the VT, and then we went around. Each person who was part of the VT was invited and went and sat on each table, and we basically actually asked each person what is your purpose and value, and then got a cheeky selfie with Stephen. but we asked everyone what they felt, and I thought for me that was amazing, because I could. Being in a call centre in Glasgow, it's so far away, and I guess everyone always thinks about Australia as a big, that's Sky, but it was nice to be able to represent Glasgow as well, and I think everyone felt a part of that, and it was really nice, and the forum was in there as well, so yeah.
I think for me it was really to be recognised this year by Stonewall for the LGBT+ network at Sky to become the sort of 29th ranking in the Workplace Equality Index, which is actually also the #1 media company for LGBT+ inclusion. And I think that's something that the network and Sky, sort of as a wider business, have worked really, really hard on. It's a very lengthy and robust form and process that you have to go through as part of the Workplace Equality Index. But I think it just really proves how inclusion and diversity really lives and breathes in true authenticity at Sky. I think that's so important, and it's great to have that recognised really sort of from a wider body, and I think that's something that we as a network are very proud of for 2018 and want to build on sort of into the future.
So I'll go. It's Lou. And one of the things that Catherine and I speak quite a lot, I would echo everything that's been said by my colleagues before, is that relative to a year or a little over a year ago, we don't get asked why this is important anymore. The question that we get asked the most from all levels and all parts of the organisation is how can I get involved and how can I do more? And I think that's just a really great indication of where we've come in a relatively short period of time as a business, from people going, oh, diversity and inclusion, yeah, I sort of get it, but why is this important, to the conversation now very much being around, I totally get it, just help me do more, how can I be better in this space? And so, sort of, as I say, as a testament to progress in a short amount of time, that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of.
Yes, I'll go, Adam. I, again, echo what you said, being involved. So being in home service, being in the involvement that I've been able to do with the Women in Home Service project, being able to action a family time for one of my engineers to go and see their children in a school play, being able to showcase the LGBT. We had some engineers go to Pride and actually had that van drive that in the middle of the parade as well. I wear the rainbow laces in my boots, just being able to be involved with that and showcase everything that goes on. And also, I was also able to win the Women in Home Service project won the Northern Power Women's Awards as well, and off the back of that as well, I was pleased to be able to help. I won the Best of Sky Award as well. So it's all that involvement throughout the different parts.
Great, thank you very much for those. I thought it was really interesting to hear the variety of things, particularly moving from the why to the how, and we really hope National Inclusion Week can give you the 7 days of inclusion action to give you the 365 days of traction. So this is hopefully you can get the why sorted this week, and then we can get cracking on the how. And to help you do that as well, we are also Inclusive Employers launching our own equality index. It's the first index focusing on inclusion. It's called the National Inclusion Standard. We'll be launching that this Thursday, and we've been piloting it with 10 other organisations as well. So we're really excited to provide feedback on that, and as well as give you the information on how to access it and how to take part in the coming weeks and months. Catherine, I think I see 2 more slides following the Q&A, so if you'd like to wrap up.
Yes, I just thought it was worth summarising. Obviously, we've heard lots of different voices talking about lots of different things at Sky this morning, and I think, in summary, the 3 things that have really been accelerating our progress is building on existing momentum. We absolutely weren't starting from zero. There was tons of stuff happening right across the business by different people that were really passionate about things, and the first stop was actually joining it all together and just going, wow, actually there's an awful lot going on already, and then from there identifying what the other opportunities were and what to do first. The next one is disrupting bias. So, we've talked about bias a few times today. It's natural. We all have it. It's a normal part of being a human being. You can't stop it. But actually, if you can disrupt it through the recruitment process and you can have a good conversation with the line manager when they're looking to bring somebody new to the team, you can review your policies, you can make sure you're looking at employee data, in separate groups rather than just looking at everybody all together. You just naturally start to go, oh, hang on a minute, and it just changes up the way that you look at things rather than looking at everybody all together. And then I think, the last point here, which is what we started on today, having that shared vision, that shared ambition for the whole organisation to really rally behind has just been awesome, and I think that's been what's created and built on that momentum again and again and again and again, because to Lou's point around the conversation, people move to what's diversity and inclusion and how do I get involved, to I get it, why, now we've got this vision, it's about on screen and behind the scenes. It's created just this central overarching goal for everyone to get behind. So in short, they're the 3 things I think we would say have accelerated our progress. So thank you very much for listening. And then just before I go, if anyone would like to connect with any of us on LinkedIn, we'd be really happy to. I'll leave the names just up on screen here for a second. We are quite active at Sky. If any of you haven't seen already, we tend to use the hashtag #LifeAtSky. So you can either connect with us and you'll see our post, or get in touch directly on direct message, or on any of your social media platforms. You can look out for #LifeAtSky, not just this week, but any time. And we're really happy to share what we've been up to, and not just us, right? Anybody using the hashtag, you'll be able to see what people have been up to.
Great, thank you so much, everyone here in the room, and Laura as well, remotely. And thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the first webinar of the week. As a reminder, there'll be 5 webinars running 12:30 from Monday to Friday this week, and we're really excited to deliver them. And if you can't access them during the live airing, we will be circulating recordings if all goes to plan with tech no later than 24 hours after the webinar. So feel free to circulate in your networks and amongst your colleagues as well. I hope you're enjoying Day 1 of National Inclusion Week. Thank you for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.